TikTok kids think they invented Whippets, Chapel keeps fighting with fans, plus 3 other exclusives in October. I'm active in the Discord. All sorts of fun when you support the habit at patreon.com/doseofbuckley. I'm about to say the 3 words that YouTube commentators seem incapable of saying. Ready? Here goes. I was wrong. About a year and a half ago, I was relatively dismissive of the Bud Light boycott. You know, the one that began because the beer company sent a couple of cans to a trans social media influencer, an annoying theater kid named Dylan Mulvaney. Toward the end of that video, I suggested that it wouldn't go on for very long, that it was relatively limited to a bunch of goobers on social media who don't go outside, and that normal people, those who aren't terminally online, don't even know or care about it. But we're a year and a half AD after Dylan, and it was announced very recently that Bud Light, which had previously been the #1 beer brand in America, had slipped to number 3, behind Modelo Especial and Michelob Ultra. The funny part, which I was right about, was that Michelob is also an AB InBev product. People boycotted one beer, but still bought the woke company's other beer. But Bud Light specifically still hasn't recovered, and I think it's because of peer pressure from those people who do leave their house, the grass touchers. They go to the actual bar with their real-life friends. What would that be like, huh? And they do not order a Bud Light because the last time they did, their friends went, "What, are you gay or something? You like the trans beer?" For them, it's not about being angry at a company, they just don't want to get made fun of. And so, they order something else. Whether it's an AB InBev product or not doesn't matter. They just don't want to order the beer that'll get their friends to call them gay. If only the civil rights activists of the 50s knew how effective this was. They could have ended the Montgomery bus boycotts way quicker. Just be like, "Oh, why don't you want black people to sit at the front of the bus? What, are you gay? You want those black dicks behind you because you want them up your ass because you're gay?" And them Alabama white boys would have been giving up their seats faster than you could say Rosa Parks and Recreation. So again, I was wrong. But, like a closeted homosexual that doesn't want to be found out, Bud Light is overcompensating hard to try and appear as the beer for manly men who like man things. Like half-naked grown men writhing around on the ground trying to get behind each other to do something called a rear naked choke. Yes, at the beginning of the year, they became the official sponsor of the UFC. They had been previously, but pulled out in 2017. No one knows how much money they spent to be the official beer of Bloodsport, but Bloomberg reports that it was more than the $175 million that Crypto.com paid to have their name in and around the octagon. They do bring in $59 billion a year, so let's say it was an even 200 mil. Still a drop in the ice bucket. But, as I've already shown you, that hasn't helped them at all yet. They started that partnership in January, and by July, they dropped to the 3rd biggest beer brand. They were number 2 at the time of the partnership. I'm not the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company, so forgive my ignorance, but when you spend $200 million to sponsor something watched by millions of people every year, many of whom watch in bars 5 steps away from the product you're advertising at any given time, you probably want sales to go up instead of down, right? Again, I'm not a beer executive. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe all this time they felt they were selling too much Bud Light. Oh, also, you want to talk about a pivot? The UFC routinely welcomes and showcases right-wing figures at its fight shows, including, of course, Trump himself, who audiences even in New York give a hero's welcome to. Late last year, there was a minor uproar when Bill Burr's wife gave Trump a double finger salute at UFC 295. Most of what I saw from UFC fans was pretty negative toward Bill Burr and his wife. "Oh, fucking liberals can't even contain their TDS at the fights," that sort of thing. But the point I'm making is that Bud Light went from using Dylan Mulvaney as a promotional tool to an event where Trump is personally escorted to ringside by Dana White, the president of the UFC, the man who, in an interview with Time, says he interrupted a family vacation in Italy to introduce him at the RNC, and who describes Trump as one of the best human beings I've ever met. That's about as far from one side to the other that you can go. That's a statement being made, and that statement is, please, conservatives, we thought childless liberals with all that disposable income would buy our beer if we showed that we like trans people. But either they don't actually have any money, or we accidentally picked the one trans person that even liberals don't like. So, can we be friends again? Please? We'll give $200 million to Donald Trump's best friend's punch and kick league. Just love us again. And so far, it's not working. So, they enlist a kindred spirit to help them. Someone who knows all about being canceled. Again, near the beginning of the year, it's announced that Shane Gillis, the guy who got fired from SNL before he even did one episode, will be doing ads for Bud Light, with people writing articles like this. Bud Light comes full circle enlisting homophobic and racist comedian in new promo. I know I mention this every time I talk about Shane, but I think he took his public beating way better than everyone else. He didn't run to the Daily Wire like Gina Carano and then try and sue SNL and be a big baby about it. Instead, he just went ahead and became the most subscribed to creator on Patreon. Nearly 100,000 paying listeners to his podcast every single month. But even though that happened in February, they just finally released an actual ad campaign with Shane in it a few weeks ago. With Shane playing a college football coach whose star player is in trouble with the dean. Whoa! And in order to get the player to confess to cheating on tests or something, they offer him some Bud Light, which Shane Gillis's character thinks, oh, if we confess to things, we get a beer? And hilariously, all the beers get drank before the football player can confess. I don't know, it's real dudes being bros humor that is really what the Bud Light brand has always been about, as many of the comments confirm. This is what BL commercials should be. Thanks, Shane. Nice to see straight white men back in commercials. This is for sure 432 hertz. That last part is probably a Shane Gillis reference of some kind, I have no idea, but it got 289 likes. Finally, Bud Light commercials like they were. Funny as hell. Shane saved $1 billion company by just being the GOAT. Oh shit, Bud Light marketing out here actually reading the room. Yeah, you know, sometimes you just gotta go with what works. Let other companies be progressive. No gay person was ever gonna drink Bud Light anyway. They didn't want their friends going, what are you, straight? You say bro and dude and you like sports now, you straighty? The claim was this type of marketing wasn't working. Bud's vice president of marketing claimed that the brand had been in decline for a really long time and that the fratty, out-of-touch humor needed another approach. But maybe Bud Light drinkers just needed to appreciate what they had. Like when Coca-Cola introduced New Coke to try and boost soda sales, everyone hated it, so they went back to Coke Classic and sales went up. Dylan Mulvaney was Bud's New Coke. Although again, sales haven't gone up, but their reputation seems to be a little better. Except in Canada. Ontario's premier, it's like a governor, Doug Ford, was photographed buying Bud Light to promote the fact that we just got beer in convenience stores. In 2024, yeah. Anyway, the comments on a post also deriding a Canadian for buying an American beer. It's not just an American beer, but it's the most woke American beer at that. One of our most shameful exports. A transgender American beer. Leave it to him to pick up the Bud Light, exposing himself for the true liberal he is. It's also been boycotted, and it's woke and they shut the factories. Pretty sure the breweries that make it are still running, or those cans wouldn't exist. But anyway, gay American beer. Gay? Canada's gay. The most woke beer company on the planet. These are the equivalent of Japanese soldiers on an island who don't know World War II is over 25 years later. Culture warriors deep in the jungles. No one's told them that even Kid Rock has moved on and ended his boycott. What? You didn't know Kid Rock drinks Bud Light again? That they gave a job to a comedian that was canceled by the left? And that Trump goes to events sponsored by Bud Light and even called Anheuser-Busch a great American brand that perhaps deserves a second chance? Why didn't you know that? What are you, gay or something?